The following is a paid advertisement. The views expressed are the sole responsibility of the advertiser.
Put the power back in your hands. This is Behind the Law with attorney Justin Clark.
Welcome to Behind the Law and happy weekend to you. Action-packed show today. A lot of great information, but first, as always, my beautiful co-host Makaila Nichols. Hello, Makaila. How are you?
I'm great.
We are live today. As you know, you can ask any questions whatsoever. The phone number will be on the screen during the entire program, 321-282-1055. So here's what's coming up, Makaila. And again, really interesting stuff. Victims' rights. So you've been the victim of a crime. What do you do? Do you have any rights? We're going to answer those questions with Tom Feiter. Also, my very good friend, Dr. Stacy Proscia, is going to be here to talk about the benefits of chiropractic care. And finally, another buddy of mine, State Rep Anthony Sabatini. I just saw him walk in the back, is going to be here. Who's right? Is it the homeowners insurance people? Is it the homeowners who are getting screwed? I don't know. I don't know who wins this fight between homeowners insurance and homeowners. We're going to answer those questions. Are you ready?
I am.
Here's what we're going to do, a very quick break. When we return, Behind the Law continues. Does credit card debt have you spinning out of control? You are not helpless. At Attorneys Justin Clark and Associates, our goal is to lower or even eliminate your credit card debt. Call me today or visit youhavepower.com and take back control of your financial life. Is student loan debt holding you back? I'm Attorney Justin Clark. You may have the power to lower or even eliminate the payments that have you living paycheck to paycheck. Call me now for a free consultation or visit youhavepower.com and take back control of your life. Welcome back to the show. We get a lot of questions during the week about restraining orders. What is a restraining order? What is an injunction? What is the difference? Is there a difference? And this is obviously a very, very important topic. And Makaila, you work with a nonprofit. You deal with victims of bullying a lot. So you're kind of involved in this world as well. But Tom Feiter does this for a living. Tom, welcome to the show, buddy. How are you?
Great. Thank you for having me.
Talk to me a little bit about injunction versus restraining order. Is it the same thing? What are the differences?
No, they're synonymous.
Okay.
In Florida, we call them injunctions. In other states, you probably know them as restraining orders, but they're essentially the same thing. It's basically a court-ordered form of protection that, where a judge legally orders somebody to stay away from another person.
This might be a horrible question, but how hard is it to get an injunction?
I'll give you the standard lawyer answer. It just depends.
Yeah.
A lot of times these cases go before a judge where both parties are not represented by an attorney. So the person who goes with an attorney is obviously going to have a significant advantage over the non-represented party, but it's beyond a preponderance standard because it's civil court. It's in domestic relations court, so it's not difficult if you hit the proper elements.
What do I have to prove?
It depends on what kind of case. There's several different kinds. There's domestic violence, sexual violence, stalking, dating violence, repeat violence, and there's a new one that's called, that I haven't done too much with, but it's exploitation of a vulnerable adult. So.
Let's start with stalking then, because I think most people understand that if your husband or your wife is hitting you, that's probably not a good thing, and maybe you can go get an injunction. But stalking is sort of new with this social media and Twitter and Instagram,
right.
and people have access with your passwords and things. Stalking, right. How can I get an injunction for stalking?
So stalking is a little more difficult to prove than a domestic violence or sexual violence injunction. For DV or domestic violence, all you have to show is that you were the victim or that you're in imminent danger of becoming a victim of domestic violence or sexual violence. But with stalking, you have to show and prove two separate and distinct incidents of stalking, which means basically it could be bullying, cyberbullying, harassment, whatever have you. There's a point where if you're going to break up with somebody, guys sometimes have a harder time dealing with this than the females. And they'll send flowers, they'll go to their house, and they'll think, oh, I'm being chivalrous. But at some point, that persistence becomes stalking. It crosses that line.
Right.
So if you can show that it is malicious, willful, and more than once, that becomes eligible for a stalking injunction.
Don't you have to tell the person to stop, and then if they continue?
Not always, but yes, that's really helpful. If I have a text message or something from the other person saying please stop, and the other person persists, then yeah, that's going to make it a lot easier for the judge to say, yeah, look, she said stop and you didn't. But again, in life, it happens a lot. How many times have women said stop and then they get back together with the guy. So again, it's on a case-by-case basis, and it's a delicate topic sometimes.
And you've seen this from both sides. You've seen people who are applying for an injunction, but you've also defended people who have an injunction against them. It can be pretty important if someone accuses you of something, and now this is public knowledge.
Yeah, that's the thing I think most people don't realize, is that when you file a petition for domestic violence or stalking, whatever the case may be, it does become a public record, which is with the clerk of courts. And it's hard also for victims, because if they want to get an injunction for domestic violence, let's say, or sexual violence or dating violence, that record can be made confidential. There's a certain process for that, but for the most part, their name is out there, and that becomes an issue as well.
And I wish we could have all day to talk about this, but listen to me carefully right now. If you are the victim in any situation like this, or you have had someone file a petition against you, this is not the kind of thing you want to do alone. Call us right now. I will connect you with Tom immediately. It's 321-282-1055. And another thing I've noticed that you've been doing a lot of lately, and we really appreciate, is the victim's right. So victim's rights is not something people really understand, I think. What does that mean, victim's rights?
Well, first of all, most people probably know this as Marcy's Law. It's called the Florida Crime Victims Bill of Rights in Florida. It's a constitutional amendment that was passed in 2018, became law in 2019, and basically it gives victims of any crime automatic rights. And some of them are automatic, some of them you have to assert. For example, if God forbid you or a family member or someone you loved was a victim of a crime, they would have the right to meet with prosecutors, the right to be heard, to know about the sentence before it's handed down. There's nothing worse than a victim being kept out of the loop while a prosecutor negotiates a deal with a defense attorney without their input.
And so let's say that I am the victim and the state is coming after the person who victimized me, essentially.
Yeah.
What you're saying is I do have some rights when it comes time to prosecuting that person, or what plea bargain or whatever they're going to do?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay,
yeah,
good.
absolutely. I mean, look, the prosecutors should reach out to you to get your input, because sometimes, and I learned this when I was on active duty in the Army, they made me special victim counsel, and the commanders would want to get the perpetrators of these terrible crimes out of the Army and prosecute them. But sometimes the victims would say, no, I don't want to be put through the ringer. I don't want to have my deposition taken. I don't want to be questioned. I don't want my life, made about this one incident. I just want to move on. Sometimes it's better for the victim for the crime to go away. And that's a very delicate topic, but one that's tough for law enforcement and for obviously military commanders as well.
Let's say I'm watching at home right now and I have been the victim of a crime. How do I know when it's time to call you versus going this alone?
Well, you always have the right to call the police. If you're the victim of a crime, you can always call the police. Just understand that once you do that, you're making it a public record.
Nice.
Most attorneys like myself, we offer free consultations if you're the victim of a crime, and we can explain what would happen when you call the police, because a lot of people don't understand the processes that they set in place once they make that call to 911 or the non-emergency number.
I love your experience too, because you've been a criminal defense attorney, so you kind of know all sides of this, which I think is important in your area of law. Tom Feiter, great to see you, buddy. Keep up the good work. I see you all over the place now. I'm always proud to know you and doing a great job.
Likewise.
Here's what we're going to do when we come back. Chiropractic care, it's a good thing, trust me. Behind the Law continues. Does student loan debt have you spinning out of control? You are not helpless. At Attorneys Justin Clark and Associates, our goal is to lower or even eliminate your monthly payments. Call me today or visit youhavepower.com and take back control of your financial life. Here we are with personal injury attorney Michael Mills. But Michael, you're way more than an attorney. You've been able to bridge the gap between doctor, lawyer, and consumer with your Injury Assistance Network, or IAN as it's known. Tell me about it.
Well, what it is basically it's a online personal injury network of providers, both medical and service, and it just helps personal injury attorneys and the general public find quality healthcare providers and service providers to take care of them when they've been injured in an accident.
Because the medical part of it is a huge piece in getting these clients recovered. You're a great personal injury attorney, though, as well. A lot of advertisement for PI guys out there. What separates you?
22 years.
Yeah.
My first 6 years, I did work for the insurance companies. I worked at one of the largest insurance defense firms in Florida. And then for the last 16 years, I've been representing the actual injured victims, as well as some of the providers as well, doing PIP work.
Okay.
So I'm able to take that, what I learned, and bring it to the plaintiff side.
Excellent, man. Keep up the wonderful work. And whether you're a doctor, whether you're a lawyer, or a consumer who's been injured in an accident, call Michael Mills today. He's over on the good guy side, I would say, right?
Yes, absolutely.
What side did you like better?
This side, definitely.
Yeah.
I've come to the light.
Exactly. I'm glad you did. Michael Mills, the injury assistance law firm. Give him a call today if you've been injured in an accident. But again, if you're a doctor or a lawyer, you need help finding help in that regard, call Michael Mills. Do IRS threats have you spinning out of control? You are not helpless. At Attorneys Justin Clark and Associates, our goal is to lower or even eliminate your IRS debt. Call me today or visit youhavepower.com and take back control of your financial life. Welcome back to the show. A lot of you might not know that if you've been in an automobile accident, you have a certain amount of time to go seek medical treatment. Oftentimes, you're going to go see a chiropractor first. Who better to ask questions about chiropractic care than our good friend Dr. Stacy Proscia is here. Hi, Stacy. Hi, Doc. I never know.
It's okay.
What do I do? I mean, because we like hang out,
Yeah,
so
we do.
I feel like I should call you Stacy, but I don't know. You tell me.
You can call me whatever you want.
Dr. Stacy.
Okay.
Welcome to the show. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. So a lot of times I see people who have been involved in an automobile accident, the first thing they do is go see a chiropractor. Do you recommend that, and why?
Highly.
Okay. And why
Highly.
is that? Why is that the first place I go?
Well, first of all, we are experts in this area.
Yeah.
We treat the body. We want to make sure everything is aligned properly because the body is all about balance. If that balance is off, you're going to have other symptoms. So we want to get to that before.
Yeah.
Because most people don't realize that maybe you got a little bit of a tap, a rear end.
Sure.
6 months down the road, you don't know why your neck is hurting.
That's right.
So we want to get to that beforehand, before it becomes a problem.
Is there a certain amount of time, a certain amount of days that I have to go seek care?
Yeah, 14 days.
Okay.
So seek that medical care. It doesn't mean that you have to go under treatment or anything,
Right.
but at least you were seen by that doctor.
And that's so you can kick the PIP in, the
Yes.
PIP coverage, where they're going to pay for, no matter who's at fault, they're going to pay for your medical care. Here's what I've heard, and let me know if this is true or not. I've often heard that a chiropractor in an accident case can act as sort of the quarterback amongst all the medical providers.
We're the one that see them the most.
Yeah.
We're the one that give them the most care. I have to see a patient. Generally, the healing time of any injury is about 3 months.
Yep.
So I see them over a 3-month period of time. The neurologist that I may refer to, or the orthopedic surgeon that I may send them to, is going to see them once, twice before that.
Right.
So I'm the one that maintains, sees them throughout care, and is able to relay the information to your attorney or whoever needs to.
And when I say quarterback, when you see me, you can kind of dictate if I should go see an orthopedic surgeon or
Absolutely.
a neurologist or another type of medical provider. Sometimes maybe I only need to see you, but you're the one that's really going to tell me who I need to see. You're going to be my quarterback.
Absolutely.
And how long does this normally take? I know it varies per injury, but have you ever seen one take a year to get better, 2 years to get better?
Well, here's the problem. As I said, when I was talking about the 3-month period of time, generally I see people over 3 months because that's the remodeling phase. When there's an injury, you have the phase which is remodeling of the injured tissue. After about 3 months, you're considered chronic if we continue on. So if it's a chronic situation, the sad part about chronic pain is there isn't going to be much of a change without some sort of intervention. So I can help maintain pain, and I can do that naturally without drugs, without surgery.
Yeah.
But if it comes to that, then we're going to have to move to that next level.
You know, I've never heard the remodeling phase. I like that. I'm afraid to even remodel a house. I want to buy something brand new, but I've never heard it described as remodeling. What does that mean exactly? I want to understand this.
Well, when you have an injury, tissues at micro levels are torn. A ligament can be stretched, and the body has to take that time to heal it. And, you know, that's in what we call the acute phase.
Right. Got it. And then how do I know when I'm fully healed? I always hear maximum medical improvement or maximum medical recovery. What does that mean exactly?
That's the best it's going to get.
Yeah?
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean I'm back to normal necessarily, but it's not going to get any better.
No. It's, I recommend chiropractic care for everyone anyway, if just for a maintenance.
Right.
I mean, you go to the gym, you go to the dentist, you take care of your body. This is what chiropractic does.
Sure.
A lot of people do come to me the first time as an injured patient. I'd rather get them as a wellness patient because they're less likely to be injured if I'm taking care of them.
And I wanted to hit on that too, because certainly you don't only do automobile accidents. You handle all chiropractic care. At what age should I start seeking, even if I feel fine, at what age should I maybe go see someone like you?
My children were adjusted the day they were born.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
This is always just fascinating to me. So let's say I feel perfectly fine, all right, and I'm 15 years old. You think that I should probably go see you, and what does that do, this wellness phase, what does that do for me?
Well, I'm making sure that the body is in complete balance. Again, if we have a slight misalignment in the spine, that's going to set muscles off balance, and eventually it'll create a compensation.
Got it.
So what starts off as just a little pain can later on be substantial pain or turn into, where you can't get up out of a chair.
Right.
So again, I want to be the doctor that avoids that. A lot of people always come to me for pain. I'd rather see them in the wellness phase.
Makes perfect sense. And by the way, look, if you've been injured in an accident or you just want to care about your health, I would call Dr. Stacy Proscia today, 321-282-1055. She's the only person we turn to for chiropractic care, but it's really more of overall wellness that you're seeking. You do other things for your patients. What other services do you offer?
We have a lot of different therapies that we offer, but one that I really love and wanted to talk to you about is red light therapy.
You were talking about that before the
Yes.
show. That's why
therapy.
I don't know what that is. I've heard of the red light district in Amsterdam.
Wrong thing.
Totally different thing.
It's different? All right, what is
Red
it?
light therapy, we have a full body red light therapy bed. It is LED lights with infrared lights. You can lay in this bed. It's about a 10-minute process, 10-15 minutes. But the reason why it's so great, it does so many things. It decreases inflammation, it increases blood flow, it induces collagen, so it's anti-aging.
Use that?
Yeah, it also shrinks fat cells.
I like it.
Which is great. We use that for our diet program. We've also it helps people with depression. Most pro athletes now are buying these beds to put in their homes, and they're not cheap. So
I'm not a pro athlete, but I could certainly use one of those beds. I don't know if I have room right now,
it's
but
kind of like laying in a tanning
I'll
bed.
do it. You keep up the good work. I love you. You're the best.
Oh, I love
Dr.
you too.
Stacy Proscia, everybody. Good job. Yes, I know we had a hurricane. A lot of people are angry with their insurance companies, but you got to be careful too, because there are some bad roofing companies out there, maybe some bad adjusters. It's just a very weird time, and homeowners insurance in this state has been very weird for a long time. I always enjoy having my good friend, State Representative Anthony Sabatini is here. What's going on, Anthony? How are you?
Good to be back on the show.
There, you got it. So I don't know who's right. I honestly don't know who's right, who's wrong. It seems like it's homeowners insurance versus the attorney, public adjuster, roofing company combination, and we're at war right now in this state. Who's right?
I'm pretty biased. I think the consumer is always right.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to insurance versus the trial attorneys, that the insurance companies are more right in regards to Florida. A majority of all first-party property claims, all lawsuits against insurance companies occur in Florida. Out of all 50 states, a majority of all the cases. There's a lot of money to be made. There's hundreds of thousands of claims every year against insurance companies. Most of them are frivolous. They just are. And for a long time, trial lawyers have bought off legislators in the state legislature to prevent tort reform from passing. I've watched it firsthand. I see it all the time. I don't need to convince you of it. Just drive down 441 or any interstate and you'll see nothing but trial lawyer billboards. There's a reason for that. We have some of the most lax laws in the country, and it's driven up insurance rates, both residential and commercial. And so we need more tort reform. We do. We did a special session this summer. We passed a few laws that I can go into. But just to sort of summarize them, they were tort reform laws. And but we need to go much further. And I think next session, which starts in March 2023, I think you're going to see the legislative leadership push much more robust tort reform laws.
How do we know as consumers, as homeowners, that we're going to have insurance on our house next year here?
Well, the good news about Florida, even though we have a lot of work we need to do immediately to make insurance more affordable, we also have Citizens Property Insurance. We have a state-run agency that's been created. It's been on the books for 20 years, 15, 20 years, where it's called the insurer of last resort. So if you can't afford insurance and companies are denying you a policy, you could always use Citizens Insurance. The bad part is that's a state-run insurance company, and we pay for it. So if the market fails, we as consumers are paying for a government-run insurance company to stand up. And so what we need to do is just make it operate like any other state's insurance company, which is just in the free market system. And so I think what that means is passing more tort reform.
How likely is it that Citizens goes away, or is that here to stay?
Well, it's a statutory program. The legislature can always choose whether to expand it, whether to end it. I mean, if we had a perfectly healthy insurance company, we wouldn't need this state insurance company to come in and insure people in their homes and property. But we do, because since the 2004 hurricane season, our insurance market here in Florida has been very unstable, and people know that. I don't need to convince them of that. During the election cycle, for any elections, one of the most common things you hear from voters is, what are you guys doing about insurance? Well, I'm doing everything I can. I co-sponsor and introduce anything I possibly can to basically soften the litigation environment, which I believe would directly result in lower insurance premiums. But a lot of legislators don't do that, so that's why we are where we are.
It's been amazing watching you and knowing you throughout your rise from Eustis City Commission, I believe it was. We had that fight over the chickens in the backyard, remember? The
backyard chickens are still a major fight in this country.
First time I ever met you, Ray Powers, a mutual friend of ours, said this man is going to be governor someday. I still believe that, if not higher. But it's also been unique watching you really rise to fame up in Tallahassee. But what has it been like seeing now Governor DeSantis's rise to sort of national fame while you've been right there in the shadow of that too?
Well, it's been great. I knew Ron DeSantis when he was my congressman, when most people didn't know him. Obviously Lake County, Volusia County was his congressional district. So I've known him a long time. I always knew he was going to be a great and strong governor, and obviously I strongly support everything he's doing as governor, and it's been just a great experience to work with him. I got to Tallahassee the same time he did. We've been in Tallahassee for the last 4 years together, so it'll be exciting to see what happens next.
That's right. Now I don't know how to label you necessarily. You're not afraid to speak your mind.
Don't label him.
I'm not, but you're not afraid to speak your mind. Anthony Sabatini, people know you're not afraid to speak your mind. Where do you get the intestinal fortitude to say what you really believe is right, even when a lot of people might disagree?
Just being raised by Italian New Yorkers, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, a lot of it comes from, I get into politics and I just see how much corruption there is, and how much people betray the trust of their own voters. I guess you could call me a populist, because it's not just on the right, it's all the way across the board. I see it all the time. And I just think that people who get into elected office need to advocate for the people they represent, and I just don't see that as much. And so that's where it really comes from. It's just the disjunct between what elected officials say on the campaign trail and what they do when they get in office. And that infuriates me, and that's what animates me.
And I know Mom and Dad, I know Mom's probably not afraid to speak her mind either, right?
No,
Mom and Dad are awesome. I love them both. So what do you see next legislative session? Is going to be a lot of fireworks, or does everything seem okay in Florida?
One of the major priorities of the House in the legislature is going to be passing an ESG bill, environmental social governance standards, which is a rubric of law, sort of regulations that banks and businesses are using now when it comes to allocating capital based on what we generally have considered social and political concerns. And so now it's become the new norm in the private sector marketplace to use them when guiding their decisions in businesses. And it's a novel, it's a new thing that's emerging. And the legislature doesn't agree with that, doesn't like it very much, and you're going to see laws passed to try to curb and push back against mandatory ESG concerns in the private sector marketplace. That's going to be the major priority of the House going into the session. I think the governor's going to do some stuff on tort reform. I think you're going to see the death penalty law get adjusted after the Nicholas Cruz jury verdict. I think you're going to move away, we're going to see Florida move away from unanimous to just a majority for death penalty based on what happened last week. So there's going to be some pretty exciting, pretty interesting, pretty controversial laws that get introduced come March.
Keep up the good work. Anthony Sabatini, ladies and gentlemen. Quick break. We'll be right back to wrap up Behind the Law. You own a house, You have windows and doors, obviously. When is it time to replace those windows and doors? I don't know. You know who does know? Dan Brigman does. He's with Renewal by Anderson. Welcome to the show, buddy. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great.
People know it's time to replace the roof because it's leaking. They know it's time to replace the driveway because it's cracking. Windows and doors, when is it time to replace them?
You know, truthfully, the sad answer is if you've got single pane windows, today.
Yeah.
If you've got double pane windows that are over 5 years old or 7 years old, right in that time frame, you need to look at replacing them.
They look so much better when replaced, but also when you think about the electric bill, huge difference.
Big difference. There's a lot of new technology that goes out there. You can save anywhere from 25%, in some cases as high as 40% on your electric bill.
And you talk about vinyl windows sometimes. Are those good or bad?
Well, in Florida, they're bad. Vinyl's a fancy word for plastic.
Yeah.
And when you heat plastic up, it loses its rigidity, puts pressure on the glass pack, it fails, you get the fogging in the windows, and nobody likes to look through fog.
I don't know what I need. How much does it cost to have you come out and tell me what I need?
It doesn't cost you anything but your time.
Literally the only place to go for windows and doors, in my opinion. The best in the business. You know that. You should know that as well. Call Renewal by Anderson today. You will not be disappointed, I promise you. They'll come out, tell you what you need. Great price, great service. Renewal by Anderson. Having debt can leave you feeling helpless. I'm attorney Justin Clark. Filing for bankruptcy may give you the power to lower or even eliminate the payments that have you living paycheck to paycheck. Call me now for a free consultation or visit youhavepower.com and take back control of your life. When it comes to roofing, there's one place I would call. Obviously, Universal Roof and Contracting. I have Justin here. Corey is here. Welcome, guys. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Great to have you back. 30 years in business. Obviously, trustworthy. Family-owned, but also veteran-owned. Tell me what you have going on for the veterans.
So we do this every year around this time. We actually give a roof away to a veteran in need. So the way to get into that is you go to our website at universalroof.com. There's going to be a banner at the top of the webpage, and you just click on that. You get to nominate your veteran. You get to tell their story, explain what they need, and during this time, we're actually going to pick a winner on our radio show on Veterans Day, and we're going to announce that winner live on the air.
Love it. When it comes to a roof, it's an expensive thing. It really is, and sometimes the insurance covers it. Sometimes you have to stroke a check. The difference often is the inspection process at the beginning. Tell me about your inspection process.
Yeah, it's absolutely free for us to come out and do a free inspection. We're going to get on property. We're going to actually get on the roof. We're going to get in the attic. We're going to walk the perimeter and develop a scope of work that works for the homeowner, that solves their problem and ultimately gives them the roof that they want and need.
And that's the most important part. And you're sitting at the kitchen table with them. You're not taking aerial photos. You're actually going there to see what do we really need? What roof do we need? And sometimes it's repair, sometimes it's replace, and you never overpromise. I know when it comes to my family, to my roof, Universal Roof and Contracting is the place that I would go. And you two are also super cool, by the way, as you know. Do yourself a favor. If you need a roof, it's Universal Roof and Contracting. Call them today. As always, we wrap it up with what did we learn? Makaila, what did you learn today?
I learned that victims always have rights. I think that's so awesome.
They do. I learned that an injunction is the same thing as a restraining order. In the state of Florida, we just call it an injunction. I think that chiropractic care is good for you, even if you haven't been injured.
100%.
What do you think? You swear by it.
I love going to the chiropractor.
And thanks to Anthony Sabatini for joining us. He's a good friend of mine. Excellent work today. Makaila, thank you for joining us. We'll see you again next week for more Behind the Law. I'm attorney Justin Clark. Call me now for a free consultation or visit youhavepower.com and take back control of your life.
The proceeding was a paid advertisement. The views expressed were the sole responsibility of the advertiser.